as our days are getting shorter and we have some of those cloudy winter days, it can be kind of dreary indoors. But one of the great ways to bring some bloom inside is to force some of our bulbs, and one of the easiest bulbs to force is the paper white narcissus bulb. Now, paper whites won't actually bloom for us. They're not winter hardy here outside, so for us they're specifically for indoor forcing. Now, the supplies that you'll need would be, of course, a supply of paper white narcissus bulbs. You'll also need a low flat container, and you'll need some gravel. Now, pea gravel, basically anything that's a ½ inch in diameter or smaller is good for doing this. And what we're basically doing is forcing these bulbs in water, much like we do our hyacinths in a forcing jar, except we're doing we have gravel as our medium, and then we'll have the water in there. Now, what we want to do when we have our low flat bowl is to fill that about halfway with our gravel. Now, you can add in with this gravel some activated charcoal, which will help keep the water from getting sour on you. Now, activated charcoal isn't, charcoal that we use to grill with. It is found, a lot of times you'll find horticultural grade charcoal in your garden center to be used as an additive to our potting soils, and you can also find it where they have supplies for aquariums. So anyway, after you've got your bowl half filled with the gravel, then you want to place your bulbs on top of that. Now, when you put them in the container, you want to place them fairly close together, because you'll get a better display if you have them placed closely together. Now, I'm not going to have them touching each other, but really about 1/4 inch from each other is what I want. And I'm just kind of seating them in here so they stay upright. And you'll see that I am actually using quite a few bulbs in my container. I think I can squeeze one more in here. And more is better as far as filling your container. You want to have as many bulbs as possible in your container. If I had this container and just put 3 bulbs in here, it wouldn't be as nice of a show. Now, what I'm going to do is come back and fill around those bulbs with my pea gravel again. And I'm going to be very careful as I do this. And what I want to do is cover basically the bottom half to bottom 1/3 of my bulbs. And this will help to anchor them in. One of the problems that you can have when you plant the paper whites is that they tend to want to get top heavy and fall out. So if you have them anchored well in with the gravel, you won't have this problem. But once you've got the rocks in, then you want to water your paper whites, and you want to try to keep the water below the bottom of the bulb. And I've left a little space here where I can tell where the water level is. And the reason that you want to do this, you want to have it just below the level of the bulb, because the bulb will rot if it sits in water. So you want that water below that bulb. The roots will grow down in that. Now what we want to do is set this whole bowl in a cool, dark place for about 3 weeks. Now, put it in a spot where you don't have apple storage, so don't put it in your refrigerator or anything, because the ethylene from the apples will actually cause our flowers to abort. But we can just put it in a darker spot and let those roots grow. Now, it's important to have this root growth time, because again, that will help anchor our bulbs down in the bowl. Now, don't forget about your bulbs, because then we need to bring them out and put them in a brightly lit place so that they can get that top growth and go ahead and bloom for us. So after about 3 weeks, bring those out. And earlier, if you see a lot of top growth happening, you'll want to go ahead and bring those out. But anyway, really about after 3 weeks, we'll put them in a brightly lit spot and allow those to grow. Now, you want to turn the bowl regularly if you have them in the window so they don't all grow towards the window. And it's important to have a lot of good light, because again, our falling over problem, a lot of times it means that we don't have enough light for our bulbs, and they're actually stretching because they're not getting enough light. So if we supply them with some good light, they'll actually grow for us and be strong. Now, sometimes you can't avoid them falling over, so if you put a stake in here and a piece of string, that can help those bulbs stay standing up. Now, once your paper whites start blooming, you can actually move them to an area with a bit less light, filtered light, and that will help your blooms to last longer. Now this whole operation from start to finish takes about 6 weeks. So if you start your paper whites in mid-November, they should be blooming for you by Christmas. Also, if you start another batch of paper whites about every 2 weeks, you'll have a nice succession of bloom all winter long.